"Jake, we're letting you go." Those words rang in my ears long after the HR rep, Michelle, said them, her tone even but her gaze flickering with uncertainty. It was a Friday afternoon, the office mostly empty as people headed out early, but there I sat in the glass-walled conference room, my life turned upside down. My manager, Curtis, was there too, shifting uncomfortably in his seat while trying to avoid my eyes. I'd known something was off the moment I was summoned, but I never thought I'd actually be fired. Still, there it was, my last day at a company I'd poured my heart into for 2 years, all because they deemed me not a team player. The irony was thick. I'd spent months building software that could streamline the entire department's workflow, practically begging to collaborate with others. But apparently, I ruffled too many feathers, asked too many questions, and refused to simply toe the line. Michelle cleared her throat. "We'll give you 2 weeks severance. We wish you luck in your future endeavors." Her voice was rehearsed, almost robotic. Curtis mumbled something about how it wasn't personal, how it was just the best decision for the team dynamic. I swallowed the knot in my throat, nodded once, and gathered what remained of my dignity. I tried to keep my expression neutral, even though anger and shock battled in my chest. Not a team player. That stung. I'd been the first to arrive at the office each day, last to leave, quietly doing the lion's share of coding tasks in a corner cubicle. Sure, I wasn't one for small talk or coddling incompetent co-workers, but I always believed that results mattered more than forced cheerfulness. Guess the company saw it differently. I left with a single box of belongings, a couple of code reference books, some office trinkets, and my personal notepads filled with half-scribbled ideas. The software I'd been developing, let's call it Flowtask, wasn't quite finished. It was a simple yet powerful platform to manage project tasks, track deadlines, and log updates in real time. Our official tools were ancient, clunky at best, so I'd started Flowtask on my own initiative, hoping the company might adopt it once they saw its potential. Some coworkers called me obsessive for working on it after hours. "The old system is good enough," they'd say. But I believed we needed something more efficient. As I walked through the lobby for the last time, the security guard gave me a sympathetic nod. Word traveled fast. I forced a polite goodbye, stepping out into the crisp autumn air that stung my cheeks. My mind reeled. What now? My rent wasn't cheap, and my savings wouldn't last forever. For a moment, I felt an urge to storm back in and show them Flowtask's latest build, to prove I had been onto something big. Instead, I trudged to the bus stop, my heart pounding with a volatile mix of fury and heartbreak. That night, I tried to distract myself by coding on Flowtask, tinkering with its final modules. Even though the company I'd built it for had just fired me, I wasn't ready to abandon the project. It felt personal now, my brainchild, representing months of late-night coffee-fueled sessions. If they didn't want me or my software, I'd find someone else who did. I sent out a flurry of LinkedIn messages to contacts in the tech industry, letting them know I was freelancing now. I attached a quick blurb about Flowtask, how it streamlined collaboration, especially for remote teams or fast-paced environments. A few polite rejections trickled in, but one friend responded with genuine excitement. "This looks awesome. My startup might be interested in trying it out." Hope flickered. Maybe I didn't need a corporate job. Maybe I just needed the right audience for my software. The following weeks were a roller coaster. Some days, I felt unstoppable, certain that Flowtask would be my big break. Other days, I panicked about bills and cursed the day I ever tried to buck the system at my old company. I scoured job boards, pitched my software to potential clients, and refined its features. I was living on instant ramen and energy drinks, staying up until dawn to debug code or craft pitch decks. Meanwhile, I'd hear gossip from ex-coworkers. The official tool the company used was still glitchy, and morale was plummeting. Curtis apparently was more concerned about maintaining his department's friendly atmosphere than delivering real results. I tried not to dwell on it, but a spiteful part of me relished the idea that they were struggling without me. Then, about 2 months after I was fired, a promising lead emerged, a medium-sized consulting firm that specialized in agile project management. They were intrigued by Flowtask's potential to unify tasks, chat logs, and project timelines under one user-friendly interface. I met with their CEO, a no-nonsense woman named Serena, who grilled me on everything from system security to user scalability. Finally, she leaned back in her chair, arms folded. "We've tested half a dozen solutions, but none of them feel intuitive enough for our fast-paced environment. Flowtask might be what we need." Could we do a pilot with 15 of our consultants for a month? My heart soared. Of course, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I can set up your accounts tonight. Let's do a free trial period, see how it fits. She nodded, a hint of a smile tugging at her lips. Deal. I walked out of that meeting with the sunshine feeling a little brighter, the street noises a little more melodic. This could be it, I thought. If they like Flowtask, I'll have my first real client, and a major testimonial. The pilot went better than I dared to hope. Serena's consultants raved about how Flowtask replaced 3 of their other tools, cutting out redundant data entry. 2 weeks in, she emailed me. We're expanding the pilot from 15 to 50 users. Great job, Jake. I practically danced around my tiny apartment. By the end of the month, the consulting firm signed a 1-year license with an option to renew. The contract was enough money to let me breathe, maybe even hire a part-time developer to help scale. Word traveled. Soon, I had multiple inbound requests from other small businesses wanting to try Flowtask. I was no longer the unemployed ex-employee scrounging for a paycheck. I was a budding entrepreneur with a piece of software that people actually wanted. Meanwhile, my old company was spiraling. I heard from a friend that a critical project missed its deadline, partially because the outdated software bungled scheduling. The fiasco cost them a significant client. Morale sank further. Management was scrambling to find solutions. Part of me empathized. My ex-colleagues were decent people, after all, just stymied by poor leadership. But I couldn't ignore the sense of satisfaction that welled up whenever I imagined Curtis wrestling with the meltdown. Then, the real shocker landed in my inbox, an email from the old company's domain. A new manager, apparently, had taken over after Curtis stepped down, and she was writing to inquire about, of all things, Flowtask. The subject line read, possible collaboration. I read the first lines, my heart skipping. They wanted to schedule a demo of my software to see if it could replace their archaic tools. I had to reread it 3 times to believe it. For a solid minute, I just stared at the screen, memories flooding back, me in that glass conference room, being told I wasn't a team player. Now, I thought, the entire team wants my solution. My jaw tensed. A swirl of emotions threatened to overshadow my rational side. Part of me wanted to write a scathing reply. You fired me for daring to innovate. Good luck figuring it out. Another part recognized that this was a golden business opportunity. If they licensed Flowtask, the revenue could be huge, plus it'd be the ultimate vindication. The same place that dismissed me is now paying for my product. I decided on a polite, professional tone. Thank you for your interest in Flowtask. I'd be happy to schedule a demo. On demo day, I walked into their office with my laptop bag slung over my shoulder. The lobby still looked the same, sterile, minimalistic decor. A pang of nostalgia and bitterness mixed in my gut. The receptionist recognized me, her eyes widening slightly. Jake, you're back. I mustered a smile. Just visiting for a meeting. She nodded, handing me a visitor's badge. Good to see you, she said softly, as if acknowledging the strangeness of the situation. In the conference room, 5 people waited. One was a newly appointed department head, Bianca, who introduced herself with a firm handshake. The others were managers and team leads, all sporting the forced smiles of professionals who want to pretend the past never happened. Bianca cleared her throat, addressing me politely. We've heard great things about Flowtask from a partner organization. It seems to handle tasks, scheduling, and real-time collaboration seamlessly. We'd love to see if it fits our environment. She gestured toward the projector. Ready when you are. I nodded, hooking up my laptop, launching the software. As I walked them through the features, I spotted a familiar face in the back corner, one of my old co-workers, Danielle. She shot me an encouraging grin, as if silently saying, "This is your moment." The team watched intently, asking pointed questions about integration, security, user permissions. I explained how Flowtask's architecture allowed for modular expansions. My voice was calm, but internally, I felt a fierce pride. I could see the flickers of excitement in their eyes. They recognized the potential. The same concept I once pitched internally, only to be ignored, was now so obviously the solution they needed. After the demo, Bianca spoke up. This is impressive. We'll need to discuss licensing terms, of course. Any chance you can give us a timeline for full deployment if we decide to go forward? I met her gaze steadily, remembering how my ideas were once brushed aside in these very halls. Absolutely, I said, voice steady. We can have you up and running within a few weeks, depending on your user base. Let's talk specifics. Negotiations followed. At first, they lowballed me, hoping for a discount because I was, in essence, a known quantity to them. I stood firm. Flowtask had proven its worth in the market. My new manager friend at the consulting firm had paid me full price with zero hesitation. If my old company wants the product, they can pay the same rate. There were some tense back-and-forth emails, but eventually, they caved. The final contract was big, way larger than any previous deals. Enough to let me hire multiple developers, open an office, and accelerate Flowtask's growth. The day the contract was signed, I stared at the e-signed document, heart thumping. Vindication at last. I wished I could have seen Curtis's face when he realized they were spending tens of thousands on the software created by the not-team player he fired. But apparently, he was long gone. No matter. This was bigger than petty revenge. It was about proving to myself that I wasn't the problem, that my ideas had value, that sometimes pushing boundaries is the key to innovation. I never bragged about the deal publicly, but word spread around the industry. Former coworkers reached out, congratulating me, some admitting they always knew I was onto something. A few apologized for not supporting me more back then. I accepted their words graciously, though the sting of that final day lingered. Over time, though, that sting became a source of quiet motivation. Soon, the entire company was using Flowtask daily, creating tasks, logging updates, storing documents. My new contact, Bianca, periodically emailed me with feedback. The team loves the interface. We just cut meeting times by half. User adoption soared once they realized how easy it was. Each note felt like a victory, a reminder that true collaboration is about results, not forced office politics. Sometimes, I'd reflect on the day I was fired, sitting in that conference room, blindsided, my heart in my throat. In a way, maybe it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Getting ousted forced me to believe in my own vision, to channel my frustration into building something the entire industry would notice. I eventually hired a small but dedicated team, securing more clients, updating Flowtask with new features. The product evolved beyond task management, adding analytics dashboards and even AI suggestions for optimizing workflows. My tiny software dream, once scorned as the pet project of a rogue employee, transformed into a thriving business. And there's a certain poetic justice in knowing that the same organization that dismissed me for not fitting their team spirit now relies on my software every single day. Whether they realize it or not, they validated my perspective, that real teamwork isn't about towing the line or attending pointless team-building exercises. It's about building tools and systems that genuinely help people collaborate and achieve more together. Next time someone calls me not a team player, I'll just grin. Because if they only knew how many teams use my software to get their jobs done, they might reconsider. In the end, I discovered that forging your own path can lead to a bigger, better victory, one that brings everyone onto your team, whether they wanted to be there or not.